Maybe don't know.
This time, to build. This time 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 power. This time to build power. This time to build power. This time to build power.
What's up, everybody? I am your host, Chris Hampton. Welcome to episode 142 of the Power Company Podcast, brought to you by PowerCompanyClimbing.com. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to give you all the details of my life right now mostly because I just did that in an episode a few days ago with my friend Lee Kugis. If you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen because you have to do these things in order. What are you doing jumping out of order? Don't do it. But actually, it's because I'm just excited to get this episode out there. Number one, this is a gift to Lee Kugis. Like I said in the previous episode, thank you for the hospitality while I was in Oz. Hopefully I can pay it back someday here in Lander. Start training those pockets up. Number two, because I know Lee isn't the only person super stoked to hear this conversation. I've gotten so many DMs in my Instagram asking when this one's coming out. So very uncharacteristically, I can't believe I just said that word without messing it up, uncharacteristically, I am putting this out very quickly. I just recorded it recently. In fact, I flew to Vegas specifically to have this conversation. I was there 36 hours, and the only way that happens is because of the patron support of this podcast. So I want to say a big thank you to all of the patrons. You know who you are, for making that happen. I don't take it lightly having to drive a 12-hour round trip to the airport and then being gone and buying a ticket, flying to Vegas for 36 hours. That takes up quite a bit of time that I don't get to do other work and that I'm not at home and I'm not training. So I don't take that lightly, and I appreciate that the patrons make that happen. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can do that at patreon.com/powercompanypodcast. And there's more episodes over there. There's a bunch, actually, and I know, patrons, that I have slacked on that podcast a little bit, but we're back on the come up. Now, back to this. Today's episode is with Moonboard legend, Instagram legend, Ravioli Biceps, the only person, definitely the first, and I think still the only person to do all of the Moonboard benchmarks on the 2016 set. While in Vegas, I got to Moonboard with Ravioli Biceps and Jonathan Segrist, who's also been on the podcast and needs no introduction. And it was really fascinating for me to watch the two of them interact. And this conversation is one that I really, really was looking forward to. It's a little bit different. Most of us are training indoors to climb harder outdoors. And it's a little bit different here. So I was looking forward to finding out more about what was going through his mind and what prompted him to want to do all of these benchmarks. So I'm going to get to it, but first, we start this conversation talking about a photo that I show him. And that photo you can see right there in your Pocket Supercomputer in the show notes. You can also click a link to buy the t-shirt in that photo that was created by Lee Kugis. And if you're a Moonboard fanatic, you want it. So go there, click the link, buy the shirt, represent. Let's get into it.
Now I'm training inside to climb harder inside, and then I want to do benchmarks so I can do more benchmarks. So it's kind of this like snake eating its own tail. Who cares, right? It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do.
Power. This time to build power. This time to build power. This time to build power.
How often do you get to Moonboard with Jonathan?
We probably get maybe, ideally it'd be once a week, but probably like twice a month realistically, just because they're kind of morning people, and I work mostly at night. So, but yeah, I always try to send them a text every time I'm going.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to be here this to this, that's like my window. So if you can, it'd be awesome to climb together.
Do you have other regular Moonboard partners?
Not really. But anybody that's usually there that I know just from climbing in the gym and I know has moonboarded or wants to moonboard, I'll try to like recruit them. Kind of hey, are you going to climb on the moonboard today? Or they're like, no, I'm doing some other program or I'm just climbing, on this. But I definitely for me, it's the more the merrier. Yeah. Like if I can get people on there session in together, like that's where I feel like it's the best for me.
Are your sessions different when you're like solo versus more people? Are they like, do you pull energy from other people or can you get that same energy by yourself?
They're very different. So when I climb by myself, I'm pretty structured and pretty rigid. What I'll do now that I've done like all the benchmarks is I'll pull up a range from like, let's say it's 7A to like 7B plus, so like V6 to V8, and I'll do most repeated. I'll sort by most repeated, and then I'll turn off all the ones that I've done. Mm-hmm. So it filters those out, and now it's all the ones that I have that I can do, you know what I mean? Like that are highly repeated, and I'll just go through those. I'll go through usually 5 of those at that range. And if I'm still feeling like, hey, I'm not super warmed up, or I want to, maybe take it a little slower, or maybe it's like a high volume day, I'll just keep going. Otherwise, I'll switch to like 9 to 11 and just start doing like individual like moves or pulls on stuff I've already done before until it's time to, again, sort those that like 9 to 11 range by most repeated, and then turn off all the ones I've done. So then I'm just like basically trying to now do new problems, and I'll try to do 5 of those or more if it's a hard day, like 10. And a lot of them are 9s because I'm not doing like a million 11s like in a session. And then after that, I'll go like 11 to, project, like basically a project. So that's like my standard session. If I'm,
you've got like these sessions totally dialed in, like Moonboard dialed.
Yeah. If I'm solo, it's like, it's all business for me. I don't have a ton of time like throughout the week. So when I get in there, I'm like, here's what's going on, But what I think is nice to break that up, since I'm so structured, is if I can recruit someone, then it's like, I'll play off them. Hey man, have you done any problems you want me to try? Or like, what are you working, and I'll just kind of like play off that. When I'm sessioning with someone else, I don't usually like to have control of the board, like control of the LEDs, and people be like, oh man, you can hook up. I'm like, no, that's fine. I want to go off your pace and off your motivation, and I know a lot of my projects by heart. Like I know a lot of the benchmarks by heart. So it's easy for me. If I want to, I can just let them have the board, and then I can, do my thing.
Yeah. And that's a cool way to expand what you're climbing on, because if you had control of the board, you're most likely going to go straight to the things that you want to climb on, instead of like today, Segrist finding these things where you can get bunched up into a little ball and then explode out of it. Maybe those wouldn't be the things you would look for normally. And
that's a huge reason why I like climbing with him, is I feel like complement each other pretty well. And he's very good at getting himself into a ball and doing power moves or like tight compression, things like that. And I struggle with that. And so the things that I've been studying lately and what I like to climb lately is exactly that. Like, cool, can I bunch myself up into this tiny little like 4x4 hold of a box of holds, and then just explode out maybe 6 rows or 5 rows or whatever I can manage, which is pretty cool. So
so I want to like go all the way back and start at the like learning about your history with the Moonboard and how this whole thing came about. Cool. But before we do that, I want to show you this photo.
All right.
I showed it to J-Star, and he said he wants one.
He had quite the reaction here, so I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah. So Liku, just I know you're listening to this. We have
up,
to get
Lee?
these things up on the internet for people to purchase. I took this photo of Liku just recently.
Oh, no way. Oh, man, that is like, wow, pretty honored to be on that Mount Rushmore. That is crazy. Look at that. I'm definitely like the softest dude in that. Like,
No way, dude.
In that group. That's
So explain what you're looking at here.
That's elite company. Okay,
and I'll
so
be putting this image up on
Yeah.
the website, so you guys will be able to see it in the show notes.
So basically, it's one of the. It's like in the style of those. It's like all like the Helvetica like black T-shirt with white text, and it's each line is a different. I guess famous-ish setter or like prolific setter on the Moonboard. So you have Knapp, which is Cal Knapp, Capraseca, Ricardo Capraseca, and then you have Hosek Lee. And then you have Ravioli, which is me. That's pretty good company to be in. So those are all guys that have like multiple benchmarks on both sets, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. He's also got this shirt.
Is it but is it a benchmark? At the end of the day, here's the real question: is it a benchmark?
So I'll post these photos up on the site for everybody to see.
That's too
so
good.
You guys can go check them out, and hopefully by the time this thing comes out, Lee will have these up on a site somewhere, print to order, so that everybody can rock these shirts.
I'm getting one for sure. That's amazing. That's cool.
No, I thought you would love that.
Yeah,
So
I do. That's amazing. Wow, what a trip.
And first off, did the name Ravioli Biceps come at the same time as you were starting the Moonboard campaign?
So Ravioli Biceps is it came a while ago. So I like
It's a Wu-Tang reference, right?
Yeah, totally. So I'm a big like, kung fu movie nerd, and like obviously I love Wu-Tang. And especially like I like Ghostface like non sequitur, like crazy references and stuff.
Does he ever actually say Ravioli Biceps?
No, but
I didn't think so.
He doesn't. But so it's kind of like
biceps and Phantom Ravioli.
Phantom Ravioli.
Yeah.
And he's got others like Lamborghini bracelets and like the hands of Zeus and stuff like that. Galaxy knuckles. Like I just think all that stuff is super fun. And when I was
Galaxy Knuckles. That's gonna be my Moonboard name.
Yeah, that's a good one, right? So I was actually picking like a gamer tag for like I think it was like Xbox Live or something at the time, and I was like, oh, like I want to do that, and I was thinking of using it too for like for 8A, just like as I just thought it was like a cool, cool
like Jumbo Haas and Twin Cannons and Crux Padwell.
Yeah, Crux Padwell, the legend. So I just kind of, that's just been like my handle. And when it was time to, or like when I decided to make like a catalog of like all the benchmark videos, I was like, oh, well, it's got to be Ravioli Biceps for sure. So just kind of went from there.
Yeah. Well, somebody on the internet today, when I posted that this was happening, said, can you just not use any names and only call him Ravioli Biceps? So that's what we're going to do.
All right.
It's shockingly difficult to find your name because you're Ravioli Biceps everywhere.
That's right.
So we're going to leave it that way.
Yeah, that's it.
People don't get to know.
That's right. I like it.
Ghostface Killer. Galaxy Knuckles.
I'm going to use like the witness protection like voice too. Like, hello, this is Ravioli Biceps. I'm all silhouetted.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's going to be the image.
Yeah.
I'm just going to Photoshop the MF Doom mask over your face.
Yep. Oh, man. Yes. That'd be awesome.
Everyone will only know you by your back with tattoos. From now forward. So how did this whole Moonboard thing start? Like, I know that it's a tool that, is getting more and more popular and is in gyms. But you were an outdoor climber before and still are.
Yeah.
But how did it start that you just decided this is going to be what I'm doing?
Yeah. So I've been climbing for a long time without really any breaks and no, knock on wood, I'm not going to do it, but knock on wood, no injuries, you know what I mean? So nothing too crazy. And then, it was like August 2017, like the end of August, we got a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like, again, maybe the most boring story, but I'm playing with the puppy and I end up like falling out of my sandals. You do like the ankle roll thing. It just goes to 90 degrees and then right back. And I heard like a big snap and was like, that's not good. And then I just immediately couldn't wait it at all. So I broke my foot. Nothing too crazy. Like it was just like a little break in the foot, but I was in a boot for, a couple months and I was still doing pull-ups, doing core, all that stuff. And the gym where I climb had just put up a Moonboard at that time. And when I got back to where I could kind of just like put on a sneaker and one climbing shoe, one sneaker, I was like, oh, this is cool. It's padded. It's low to the ground. And
you don't need your feet anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I just campus all those boys anyway. So I was doing, I think like I have the first problem I did. I have it here. It was like October 18th, I did pogo. I think I have it logged as second try, and I have my comment is I climbed it with 1 foot. So I just climbed it with 1 foot, and it kind of went from there. It was like a really good tool, and it was good for me to come back and just kind of start at like the 6V pluses or V4s and just kind of work through each grade. And at that point in time, I didn't know what benchmarks were. I was like, oh, that's cool. Someone else was climbing on, and they were like, oh, like there's these benchmarks, which are like the hand selected problems, I guess, or whatever, supposed to represent maybe the best or hardest or whatever of the grade.
Picked by Benchmark Moonboard himself.
Yeah, picked by Ben Moon, aka Benchmark Moonboard. Big shout out. So yeah, I just was working through all those, and then I got to the point where I was healthy. I was climbing in both shoes, both feet. Everything was good. My the healing process went really well, and I was feeling good, feeling strong.
At that time, were you looking at the Moonboard as just a tool to get you back outside strong?
Yes, totally.
Okay, so it wasn't its own thing yet.
No, it wasn't. And I got to maybe where I was climbing around like the 7Bs or like V8s, like getting through those benchmarks. And I hit a benchmark called Bazoo by Ricardo Capriseca. And I was like, man, this thing is super hard. Like I know how it goes, but I wish I had a video that I could see someone doing it. Right. And I was like trying it. It's got this pretty heinous cross on it, like jump cross, of course. And I found this video of Dong-Yu Lee, who climbs with Hoseok in South Korea. I found it way deep in his Instagram, like just way deep. And it was maybe not even the first one. He had like a bunch of videos, and I was like deep diving to find this video. And I found it, and I was like, okay, cool. Like it's not giving me any new information really as far as like movement or tricks or anything like that. But it's like, cool, I'm seeing it happen. Right. It's possible. And it like motivated me to just like do it. Right. Like, okay, I guess I just have to like get good enough to do it. And so I thought that was really cool, a really cool feeling. And I remember talking with my wife, like, hey, I think I'm going to like make videos of all the benchmarks that I can do. Right. And at this point in time, like I said, I was like at the maybe like 8s or some 9s or something like that.
Yep.
And she's like, okay, whatever. Like, cool. Yeah, you should, like, what do you mean? So that's kind of where the project started as far as doing all the benchmarks or becoming obsessed with the benchmarks and making all the
do you have videos of every benchmark?
Yeah, on the 2016 set, there's like 355. I have videos of all of them. Yeah, I actually have a couple extra videos because they unbenchmarked a couple, so I like did some extra ones. Like, come on.
And all those aren't on your Instagram, right?
They all should be. Yeah,
they're all on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you dig deep enough, I think the first one I have recorded is Wuthering Heights.
Okay.
It's like a famous V4, famous for me, but it's like a really highly repeated.
It's famous to everyone who's listening. So.
Yeah. It's but I was like, oh, I got to start with that. That one's like super classic Ben Moon set. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. As part of the warm up or whatever.
Yeah, I do it all the time. No big deal.
It's fun. Some of them are fun to repeat.
Yeah, that's cool. What have you gotten out of those videos that you didn't expect? Like, I'm sure there have been, because of the popularity of this thing, and now there are other people putting up videos of their moonboarding, and if you search #moonboard, you're gonna find so many videos.
Yeah, it's
they're
crazy.
everywhere. And for a time, I like curated my feed specifically so that moonboard videos were gone from it.
Yeah.
Because that's all I was seeing.
That's all my feed is at this point. It's just endless moonboard videos. I love it. So,
But I bet you get a lot out of that.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even just watching myself. So when I was first making videos of everything, I was like, man, there's a ton of benchmarks that are from V4 to V7. It's a huge majority are those. And I was like, I got to make videos of all these. So I kind of made a game out of it. As for the session, I was like, I want to see if I can do all of them and make videos of all of them just in a
sick.
session, right?
Yeah.
So, like where I put the camera, I have to like kind of crawl up into the rafters and like press record and then like run down.
I was
do the
wondering that
problem.
today,
Yeah.
actually. Like, where in the hell does he set up in here?
I should have shown you the little nest. It's like kind of in those like rafters behind
Yeah.
where we were sitting. So I would run up there and like hit record, run down, do it, run up, stop the record, and then swipe to the next one.
You need a remote, man.
Yeah, I know. It was like my like version of cardio. I swear I don't know how many I did one day for videos. I did like 30 or 40 like V4s and 5s, and was like, I'm just dead. I was so tired. But yeah, it's fun. I had all these I had all these videos, and in the early, like when I first started the page, I was posting like a bunch a day because I was like, oh, I would just want to like have the catalog done. I couldn't wait. I was just posting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you get messages from other people about the videos?
Yeah, all the time. And I love them. I try to read everything, respond to everything. I get, people like, hey, this beta helped me, or hey, you skipped like 6 holds. This beta didn't help me at all. Like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, I'm gonna skip as many holds as I want, dude. Like,
When that brings up an
That's fine.
interesting factoid, I expected you to be like 6'2" with this giant ape index,
yeah, well, I'm glad it looks like that. I'm not.
And I was just guessing that's the body type that will work best on the moonboard.
Yeah.
But you're more like 5'10".
Mm-hmm.
What's your ape?
Like +2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, not completely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, just kind of a dude,
Yeah.
just a guy. And I get a lot of questions like that, like how tall are you or whatever. So I had to find out, like, I'm 180 centimeters. So that helps.
Right. Had to do the translations.
Yeah, for sure. And I was like, wait, how many kilograms am I? I don't know, because I get those questions a lot too. So
Yeah.
I maybe just posted in my bio, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Keep it secret.
Well, I also just realized that you keep your Instagram a private account.
Yeah. So
Why?
So I'm just kind of a private guy in general.
Yeah.
And I want everyone to, if I want everyone to enjoy the catalog and hopefully check it out and be helpful, but kind of to weed out like bots and spam and all that other stuff. Like,
And just crazy humans.
yeah, just other stuff like that. I want people that want to be part of the community, if that makes sense, and
Yeah.
that are going to be, but if I see like, you requested it and I see, okay, this person is a climber and their name isn't like 1, 2, 3, 4 XYZ, a million like weird things, then it's like, yeah, for sure. You're in. And if you are pending and you have a weird name like that and you want Moonboard beta, just send me a message and I'll read it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to keep the spam and the bots at bay, I guess,
Yeah, totally. For sure.
Yeah.
Do you have conversations with the other guys on the shirt?
I have probably Kyle Knapp and Hosiak the most, I would say. Ricardo, like, I have talked to a little bit, and like he's an amazing setter. He's just super strong, and his sets are thoughtful, pretty creative. I like his stuff a lot. I haven't talked to him as much about stuff, but those other guys, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's been a really cool part of it, because those guys have put all 3 of them have put a ton of work into the development, and they set a lot, and
they post videos and their communities are super psyched. So
Yeah, I think Ben Moon owes all of you royalties, frankly.
I just
We're
want
gonna lobby
like,
for that.
oh man, like there's only like 3 holds I want. I'm like, I want this hold, and this hold. And I can't even get those, man. I'm like, I just need replacements because these holds are greased out, you know?
And the shipping just costs a fortune.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, please, I need, hold number 53, 56, and like 65 or something like that. I forget what they are. I had to go and look because I was like, I know them as like, E14 or whatever.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
No, I think it's cool that all of you do have some back and forth chatter between the 4 of you. Nate called the 4 of you the 4 horsemen of the moon apocalypse.
I want to be death.
So that's how you shall be referred to from now on.
Yeah, for sure.
Ravioli death.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And but I think it's cool that community happens. When the Moonboard was first getting popular, I was annoyed by the videos more than anything. The constant Moonboard videos on my feed. But I do think that the fact that you can watch Megos do this problem and then you can go try the exact same problem is really cool.
Yeah, it just takes me like a year longer to do.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, it is cool, and I do get like the burnout factor of like, I don't want to see a bunch of people, moonboarding all the time, and maybe that's another reason why I have it private is like, just I think if it's private, I don't think it's showing up in people's feeds. So if they want it, then it's like cool, it's all here. But I'm not trying to spam someone's feed with like a bunch of moonboarding if that's not what they want, because that's literally all that's on there. So
what's interesting to me that it's a private account and so many people know who Ravioli Biceps is.
It's cool. It's kind of a trip because like I said, I'm just like a guy, like,
Because if I say that name, I don't get weird looks. Like people know who Ravioli Biceps is.
It's crazy. Yeah, I remember I don't know anything about how things get benchmarked as much as people like message me and like, hey, how does this get benchmarked? How's this? And I remember I like every day pretty much I'll like refresh the problems and see what's out there and see what people are setting and check it out and go through it. And if I'm sessioning that day, I'll try stuff. And I remember refreshing, and I always check the benchmarks just to see if there's any added, or someone will message me and tell me.
Are they still adding on the 2016 set?
Yeah, they added a couple recently. I think they added three or 4 between like the 5 and 6 or 7 range. Okay, which is cool. Like I think it's. So
you just warmed up on those, and then you're back on top.
I was like, yeah, do it. But yeah, I think it's cool. I remember like refreshing and seeing that there were new benchmarks and seeing that one of mine had been chosen to be a benchmark and was like, oh man, that's like the biggest compliment ever. It was huge. It's just awesome. Like I'm not really like a setter, and Moonboard setting is so weird anyway. Some people don't even call it setting because it's like, no, you're just picking holds. You're not setting anything. But for lack of a better word, using setting. And it was just, it's cool because I've been, trying to make stuff that's fun and people enjoy. So,
yeah. So going back to the story, like you break your foot, you're starting to moonboard, you find benchmarks and are getting into that. Did you ever use it as you intended, like as this way to get back outside and be stronger out there? Did that happen, or did it just take over?
No, absolutely happened. I don't remember where I was in like the benchmark process. I think I was like around the 9s, maybe like some 10s like I had done. There weren't a ton at the time. I think when I was doing most of the videos, there were only 8 7C plus or V10s. So I had maybe done a couple. And my wife and I took a trip to Bishop, and I was like, hey, I'm just kind of getting over my broken foot. I don't want to do anything super high ball. I want to just, see where I'm at and kind of try hard, because I hadn't done a ton of climbing outside. Sure. I'd just been in the gym in like the controlled environment. So I picked a few things like on the bubble lobotomy on that like wall in the Happies.
First off, let's use controlled environment really loosely, because I climbed in that room today, and it's not like you're in a humidity-free, heat-free, cold, perfect conditions room.
Yeah, it can get pretty sweaty in there for sure.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that it's not some like bubble that you're climbing in.
Yeah, it gets pretty greasy, and those holds get pretty slick, but makes you try harder, I guess. You know?
Yeah.
I have to do it. But yeah, we went to Bishop, and I had a couple things on my list, so I thought I could do some stuff on that bubble lobotomy, and there was like I wanted to try Thunderbird because I've been doing a lot of like crimping, and you can kind of like, yeah, maybe it's not valid to drop, but I was like, oh, I'm just gonna climb down this, and nothing crazy once you get past that crux part. And I had crazy. I was like, wow, this worked just immediately. Like immediately when I was like on holds, I was like, wow, I just feel so much more confident. I feel more powerful. My fingers feel more adapted to smaller holds, and like bending my fingers and moving off smaller holds. Like even just that. And then I found that I had a lot of power in and confidence in my feet as well.
Yeah.
I was trying Maze of Death or something like that, and it was like wasn't going well for me, and I was like my skin was kind of messing up or whatever, and I was kind of like, I think I'm gonna like bag this for the day, like I'm just not feeling it or whatever. And it was kind of late in the buttermilks, and we drove back down. I was like, I'm gonna try Thunderbird. I just want to try it. I just want to see where I'm at, and then take a rest day and check it out. And warmed up, or I was kind of like still warmed up from Maze of Death or whatever, and I remember feeling like when I pulled on, I waited and all that till it was a little cooler, sun went down, whatever. I remember pulling on to the beginning holds, and I was like, they're big, but I was like, this is the biggest they've ever felt. And then you right away immediately hit that little razor blade right hand crimp, and was like, wow, this is the biggest it's ever felt. And I'm thinking this like as I'm pulling off of it and trying to do this, you do this big left hand move, and you have to dead point. It's very, very like, it's a moonboard move. It's like a small crimp, and then you drive onto your feet, and then you latch something. And I'd never made that latch ever. I'd gotten close, and then your skin goes to hell because like that razor blade.
Sure.
And I just like stuck it first go. Like first go of the trip, first go was like, oh my God, that's great. Like that, I felt like just translated like so 1-to-1. And kind of came back from there and was like, okay, cool. This thing's like the real deal. Like I'm finding that I'm getting stronger on stuff. I've never been great on crimps like in the past, and this thing helped my crimp strength like crazy, and just power in general.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I've talked to anybody about how well did it translate for you to real rock. It seems like most people who are really into moonboarding end up into moonboarding, at least the people I've talked to, and that's certainly just that I haven't talked to the right people. So it's cool to hear that it translated that immediately for you to real rock.
Yeah, and I mean, it could be hyper specific, right? Like that's just, you could essentially set that in any gym across the country, right? You could set like the Thunderbird move, and it just, I think that translated real well. Like, would Buttermilker translate? I don't know, right? But there's certain things that might. That one was just like, I remember that being like a 1-to-1, like, wow, I've never done this move, and it's never felt so big, and then just boom, sent it. So it was cool.
Well, and I think you just kind of hit on, the really important part of it is that it's a really great tool for specific things, a really amazing tool for specific things. So it's cool that you went out and found that specific thing. Are you still finding that when you get to climb outside?
Yeah. So shortly after that, I came back, and, I remember on that Bishop trip, I was like, man, I miss I want to do more benchmarks, make more videos, and I want to just, have this complete collection. Like I'm so obsessed with I love the repetition, in a lot of things, in life in general. And I love checking boxes, and I like the grind. It's relaxing to me. It's not a oh man, it's like not eating my vegetables, it's like I look forward to the grind, and I was like, oh man, I want to, like, I'll look at, I remember when I was first moonboarding, someone showed me Go Big or Go Home, and I was still like in the sneaker, and I was like, that's crazy. I'll never do that thing. It seems insane. Someone then showed me like, you got to check this out. It's Black Beauty. Like, okay, that's even crazier. Never.
So Black
do
Beauty
that.
already existed when you were starting this campaign.
Yeah, I saw it pretty early because, it's like people had the LED and they're like, look at this thing Daniel Wood said. It's like 4 holds and it's insane looking. And the same thing with Go Big or Go Home. It's kind of one of those like, well-known benchmarks. And I remember seeing both of those super early and being like, wow, this is next level, no shot. This is crazy. But I got really into the process. Like I loved the process of just trying. And I would get to benchmarks and be like, I'm going to try this. Like before I even started working on it, I was like, I know I'm going to try this 50 times, 75 times, 100 times. And I was like looking forward to that like journey on that problem. It's kind of crazy, but I don't know. I like that. It's like comforting.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel that way about some of my home projects on my wall, that I look forward to getting on those again as much as I look forward to going out and trying my outdoor projects. Do you still get the same feeling outside?
I would say in the last year, I haven't climbed outside a ton. And I guess I maybe meandered off your last question, but it does still translate for me. Shortly after that Bishop trip, I came home, did a few more benchmarks, more videos, and was feeling strong. And then we went to, I think right before my wife and I went to a wedding, and I remember being like, almost like, how you get like a little bit worked up on a trip, like, oh, am I going to do this? Like, am I going to do this before I have to go home? Mm-hmm. I was like trying to do Mad About You.
Like before I go to the wedding, am I going to get it done?
Yeah. I was like trying to do Mad About You, which is it's a Hosiuk Lee benchmark V10. And it's really similar to, it's a good trainer for Black Beauty. Okay. And I remember just like trying that thing over and over and over. And I was like, am I going to do this thing before the wedding? Cause it was like, I know I'm just going to be like drinking.
Are you like looking for the nearest Moonboard to the wedding venue?
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, I kind of dip out after the ceremony and just like, I'll be just a few minutes, maybe like this humidity here is better and this gym's better, whatever, So I remember doing it like a day or two before we left for that wedding. It was like, man, I feel so good. We came back and I was like, I want to go to Colorado. I've never been. Yeah. All my years of climbing, never been to Colorado. I want to check it out. Have friends there and was psyched to see them too. And I was like, I really, really, really want to try Top Notch. It looks awesome. It looks,
Top Notch V13 or 14?
13. Yeah. Okay. It's it's a Thai, I think it's a Thai Landman, a Thai Landman boulder, and it's just super beautiful. It's like, overhanging a little bit more than the Moonboard, and it's just got really nice holds. It's got a notorious first move. It's very, it's a prestigious boulder. Like, I just really wanted to try it. And we went to Colorado, and I did the first move, second go, and then I did all the moves in a session. And I was like, wow, this is translating really well. Like, this feels really good. And again, it's a 1-to-1 type thing. If I was doing an overhanging compression prow, then maybe not, right? But this specific problem is translating really well to what I've been doing at moonboarding, and really all I've had time to do, which is moonboard. And I wasn't able to put it together, but it was still translating for me outside. Yeah, which is a good feeling.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. You said you're not getting out that much right now.
Yeah, I've been just busy. Like, my time's kind of eaten up with work and just life in general. And I'd say during my work week, I only get maybe 5 hours to train. So like breaking that up, like I can probably train before work for like 2 hours or maybe 2.5. And then, I'm working, and then on my days off, I'm trying to get in more and train more. But I think that's why I have to be super specific and really regimented on like my sessions.
Sure.
kind of plan them out beforehand.
Yeah. Does moonboarding give you the same does it fulfill you, I guess, in the same way that outdoor climbing did before you found the moonboard?
Yeah, it does. And I struggled with that at first when I was kind of transitioning more to indoor climbing because the age-old express, it's just, hey, you're training inside to climb harder outside, right? Now I'm training inside to climb harder inside, and then I want to do benchmarks so I can do more benchmarks. So it's kind of this like snake eating its own tail, and I maybe struggled with that, like, I should really go outside, or I should really do this, but I kind of had to just accept that I wanted to follow like what I was psyched on, like what I was motivated on, and I just kept thinking like, I did Mad About You. I really, really want to do Black Beauty. I want to put the time in, and I want to give it like a real effort.
Yeah.
You know, I think I maybe have a shot. I can reach all the moves, and just putting them together is like really hard, but I really wanted to put some time in on it. And that year I did it, I did Black Beauty almost exactly a year after I broke my foot. It was like I broke my foot like the end of August, and I did Black Beauty the end of August the next year. And
so was Black Beauty the last benchmark?
For me, it was, yeah.
So it took you just about a year.
Just about a year.
To do them all. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that was at the time, I think there were 283 or something like that. They've added a few now, like there's 355 now. So that was just like the first, batch of them that I was able to do in that year.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a mature decision to grapple with the idea of, is my motivation in the wrong place? Because you've been told it or felt it or whatever in the past, and now it's changing, and you're like, I don't know what's going on here. Is there something wrong with me almost? I could see it even feeling that way. But then recognizing that like my value system is mine, period. No one else's values can be pushed on me. And if this is the thing I want to do, then that's the thing you should do.
Absolutely.
Whether it's climbing outside, inside, not climbing at all.
Whatever you want to do. I mean, I hit this point where I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I feeling guilty about wanting to climb on the moonboard? I'm just doing what I want to do. Like, I don't, I'm not in like, super connected to like a lot of what other people are doing. I'm just kind of doing my own thing. And like, this is what I want to do. Like when I did Black Beauty, that was the hardest thing I've maybe, it might sound crazy, but that might be the hardest thing I've ever done,
Sure.
And that was definitely the hardest thing that I've done in that year by far. And I did a couple problems that I still wanted to do in Red Rock. And, I was like, I'm definitely I'm proudest of that. So who cares, right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, totally. I mean, people, there are athletes all over the world who play their sports, who do what they excel at indoors. It doesn't have to be, there's no rule that says your sport needs to be outside, or you have to be enjoying the outdoors to do your sport. When I first started climbing, I got a lot of flack from people for being outspoken and saying, I don't do this for the adventure and for being outdoors. I do it because I like the gymnastic aspect of it, and I like pushing myself hard, and I like, the mental battles I have to go through. For me, it's like skateboarding.
Oh yeah.
That's how it felt to me. And I love skateboarding just as much. And skateboarding is all about let's make the whole world concrete. That would be great. So I definitely respect that you just made the decision, like, this is taking the place of what outdoor climbing used to provide me with.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing was just, it was like, oh, there's maybe outside judgment about, oh, well, you're just, doing benchmarks, or you're just climbing on a moonboard. That's all you do. Like, like you said, I don't care.
Yeah, like you're just
doesn't matter
climbing
to
on
me.
rocks. That's all you do.
Yeah, it doesn't.
you know?
It doesn't matter to me. Like, I like climbing on rocks too, but it's been, and the community has been awesome too. Like when I was recovering and doing all these benchmarks, I was getting, more and more people like, oh, like your video helped me send and stuff like that. And that's,
Right.
That's great. That's it's kind of taking that place of when you're with your crew and someone sends, or maybe you give someone some beta on that small level at the boulder, and
Yep.
now it's taking that place. And that's a really satisfying feeling for climbing,
Yeah, when Nate featured you in the newsletter, in our newsletter, The Current, I was excited about it, even though I'm not a moonboarder at all. I've spent very little time on it, as you could tell from today.
Oh, you were crushing that sloper though.
And as long as I got
greasy.
my pinky on it was okay.
Yeah.
I was happy about it because I just respect the dedication to something. It doesn't matter to me what it is. Tony Hawk spent 15 years trying the 900.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And, was willing to lay it all out there in front of all his, competitors, all of his friends, the whole world. And I like that it wasn't like this secret thing that you were doing, that you put it out there and you're like, I'm going to try to do all the benchmarks. I've got Black Beauty left. And then you do the thing, and to me, that's really exciting. Watching someone see through this vision they had,
Yeah, it was really exciting, and it was this big question mark and this big motivator, because I tried, there's a few benchmarks that I tried for months, and I was like, I need to do this one before I can move on to the 10s. Like it used to be 9. I don't know if they upgraded it, but it's called Blow by Ben Moons. It's really hard. It was really difficult for me. It took me a long time to do, and it was this hurdle in getting all of the 9s, because I'm like, I have to make videos of all the 9s before I got onto the 10s. I had a bunch of the 10s
So
done.
you did them all in order.
I tried to do them all in order. Yeah,
Okay.
I tried to do them all. I started with, and I've done.
It wasn't hard enough already. Let's do it like this.
And I've done a bunch of them twice, 3 times, 4 times, because there's a couple that I got like a phone call or something when it was recording, and it messed up the recording, and it was like, oh my God, I gotta do that thing again. So a lot of those videos you see, that's like 3rd, 4th time doing it, because then I'll do it again and I'm like, oh, I don't like the way that my foot looks here, or like I want to do this a little smoother or maybe a little slower or whatever. So I'm pretty picky on how I'm like how the movement looks too.
Yeah.
I want to try to highlight the benchmark. I want to try to highlight the movement, and I want to try to make it look good, because it's, someone put some time in to set that. I want to climb it well, even if I got to climb it, 5 times or something.
Yeah. Do you think that being that picky about it, and I didn't like the way I looked when I did that move, and not as an egotistical thing, like I'm worried that people are going to judge me because of the way I look, but more like what it sounds like you're saying is, I want to improve the way I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Do you think that helped you with the whole process?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've gotten messages in the past too that's like, oh, hey, that looked like you kind of bounced off the start, or hey, maybe your foot touched the other, whatever, maybe wrapped or something like that, And so it's like, cool. I'm totally open to that, because I want to do it right. I want to do it the way that it's intended to do. And I want to so I climbed it again. Someone was like, hey man, that starts kind of not legit, and you bounced off it. And I was like, cool, I'll do it again. I'll just go do it again. And I ended up doing it 3-4 times in that next session, and was wanted to pick the best video that looked good. I sent it to that guy and was like, hey, is this better? I'm totally open to all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it does help. I think I'm pretty hard on myself as far as wanting to do it well, and wanting to try really hard to put in that extra effort. I mean, painstakingly toiled over that camera angle too, that I ended up choosing for everything. Cause I was like, this
Right.
is going to be the angle for everything, you know? And, even when I got a new phone halfway through, I was like, oh, the color balance is off and like, this is weird. And like, it's gonna, I don't know. I just like the aesthetic is all messed up. So, I think that does help, like being particular. I'm really into subtleties and detail and being particular. It's why I like bouldering. It's why
Yeah.
I like the challenge. I like like you said, oh, my pinky has to be on to do this. I love that stuff and digging deep into it. And I think that is a big factor for keeping me motivated and keeping me going, even after all the benchmarks are done.
Yeah.
Someone told me, or someone, shortly after I did Black Beauty, someone was like, hey, like, congrats, like you did them all, like you're done. I'm like, no, I'm just starting.
Yeah.
Like there's so much to do. There's all kinds of problems to do. People are so strong out there. And I love, how far I can go and digging deep into new projects. And there's always something to check out.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. You just said something really interesting about, somebody will send you a message like it looked like your foot might have wrapped there or might have touched this hold or whatever. And I've always joked that bouldering is the purest form of climbing with the most rules. and I stand by that. And it's like moonboarding has its own set of rules, really.
Yeah.
Which sort of maybe in some way makes it its own thing, whether you like it or not. I view it as a training tool for climbing outside, but your version of the moonboard is as its own entity, its own thing. It's transcended the idea of just going climbing. It's the thing. It's the goal.
Yeah, and for a lot of sessions, it really has become that for me. And in a lot of aspects, you're totally right. It's funny when I tell people outside of climbing or people I work with or whatever, they're like, oh, like you climb. It's like, yes, I climb, but then I boulder and then I moonboard and then I do benchmarks. So it's like this.
Yeah.
It's like this funnel of just the most hyper specific like act you can do, which I think is really funny and I enjoy it. But it's funny that to just be so deep down into this like discipline, for lack of a better word, or thing.
Yeah. So the moonboard represents multiple things for you. Part of it is a training tool for outside.
Yeah.
Moonboarding is a training tool for benchmarks.
Yep.
And then benchmarks are their own thing. What else do you do training wise?
So I have a pretty specific, and maybe it's too repetitive, but I have a pretty specific warm up that I'll do every session, where I'll do like some jump roping and some jumping jacks, and I usually try to do like 100 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, like some sort of sit-up, like whatever, and then some one-arm hangs or some hangs on smaller edges to warm up. And then that takes like 30 to 45 minutes. And depending on the day, if I'm doing a high volume day, let's say like a 5 to 7, like V5 to 7 day, about high volume, or 6 to 8, then I'll do a bunch of those and like 10, 15, 20, whatever. And then I'll go and I'll one arm hang with some weight and do some campusing. But otherwise, that's pretty much all I do. I don't ever train any endurance. I don't do much cardio really, other than running up and down, trying to do the record, for the camera. That's my specific cardio. But
do you feel like before this whole moonboard thing started, because you had spent quite a bit of time climbing outside?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you feel like you were already a good technical climber?
Yeah, I thought I was all right. Yeah, my style has totally changed in the last few years, though. I used to just love outside. I would just give me anything that's just compression, like steep compression on holds. I'm thinking of stuff like the flame or what, just stuff like that, right?
Yep.
I was like, oh, that's what I'm strongest in. That's what I can push myself in. And I used to shy away from 40 degree, 45 degree, 35 degree faces with crimps. And now I'm looking more towards those things because that's everything I've been doing. And that's been really cool because it's just opened up all these other problems for me to go and try, test myself on.
Yeah, and you said something really interesting today when J Star was asking you about your training outside of the Moonboard. You talked about, and I admire the specificity of this, that you talked about, if there's a hard move for me, then I'll, during my session, I'll just try to hang that hold, a few times, or, adding that really specific stuff into your session, essentially because that's your project. You're training specifically, as specific as you can get for that hold, that project.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do one arm hanging on the Moonboard and campusing on the Moonboard, and like you said, just holding positions. There's a couple things that I'm working right now where I just want to hold that position, or I want to hold one hold down, or like do the move one hold down or one hold away, and really just work up to latching that. And it's sometimes sometimes such a slow process. Like, okay, I hit it today, or okay, I got one finger on it today, or
Right.
okay, I maybe got like a little bit of engagement on that hold today. And
Sure.
it's really small progress, but I enjoy that progress quite a bit.
I mean, I think for a lot of us, I think in reality, that's the most rewarding part of bouldering, like figuring out these tiny little bits of progress and how to make them, and working hard for that and seeing it through. Oftentimes just sticking a move or figuring out, if I turn my foot slightly this way and engage at this point or breathe at this spot or whatever, that makes all the difference. Just figuring those things out is sometimes better than the send,
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, that process is so rewarding, and it's just. And now, don't get me wrong, I do want that process to end at some point and
for sure.
send, but
I think that's important. I think the send
Yeah.
is a necessary part
yeah,
of the process. It doesn't have to be the most rewarding part of the process, but I think it's a necessary part.
the most ideal like progression in that sense outside I've ever had is in 2012. I really wanted to do Wet Dream, which is like a famous V12 out here in Black Velvet Canyon, and I remember it was like the most step progression I've ever had. I did it from the jug on the right side, which is like, I don't know, 8 or 9. And then I did the right, which is like 11. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm ready to try the 12 and try to link all the 12. And I remember when I was ready for Red Point Goes, every single attempt, I was getting very slightly, just a little bit higher and a little bit, up on there's slopers at the top. So it'd be like, I'd be getting a little further up on the slopers before falling, or maybe I do next hand move. And that was just such a rewarding on, a 5-star world-class boulder. And that progression was so great. Like, that's what I remember most about it. Not even the send, is like, I remember falling so high on it. I fell like where you shouldn't even fall on it. And, but I was still getting a little higher. Right. So I was just loving that progression. And I find a lot of that on the Moonboard, which is good.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about this, but this morning I was talking to Bill Ramsey, and we were talking about being open-minded late in the game on a project, and maybe you find a different way to hold a hold, or a different foot or a different foot sequence, or a little intermediate you can use or something. But a lot of that stuff doesn't exist on the Moonboard. You're not going to find a new hold,
Yeah.
You're not going to, in most cases, find a new way to hold the hold. Does that get frustrating?
So it can, because it's just so black and white. You can grab it or you can't. You can pull on it or you can't.
Yeah.
I grabbed it perfect, all 4 fingers on, whatever it might be, pulled as hard as I could, was feeling good, still can't do it, right? But what I find is that there are there's still progression to be made in the fact that, like, I'll watch my videos and it's like, okay, I readjusted one time on this and I need to readjust 0 times. I
Right.
need to hit it perfectly, wrap, and move. Or I'm climbing it just a little bit too slow, or I see that my hips are sagging, or I'm not driving through into my foot. And so I start to find these other efficiencies that I can create rather than outside, and I think that's where the openness comes into just being like, okay, I'm okay with how I'm doing this. I just really need to either climb it faster or climb it more efficiently.
Shit, man, you're selling me on this thing. So what I'm hearing you say, which is really interesting, is that because there's not a way to dumb it down. Like you're not going to find a knee bar,
Right. Yeah.
It's not going to be like a lot of Waco tanks in the last few years in that a bunch of people are climbing V11s and V12s now because they found a knee bar that makes it actually V8 or V9.
Right.
That's not going to happen. So you don't waste time essentially looking for new beta, new options, ways to dumb it down. You end up having to just get really hyper focused on your movement, your mindset, your motivations. It's all internal.
Mm-hmm. And that can be hard to grapple with because it's
For
like,
sure.
well, damn, I'm just not good enough, and
Yeah.
you have to sit and grapple with that and be like, no, like I'm just weaker on right arm lockoffs. And I really need to maybe I'll spend more time doing right arm lockoff drills or locking off on that hold like 10 times before I'm done with my session, or just one arm hangs, whatever it might be, so I'm gonna do it, right? So I'm gonna do whatever it takes to do that. And like you said, you can't dumb it down. So I'm just going to meet the challenge and try to overcome it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think a lot of these things that you're kind of highlighting and just bringing to light for me apply on other walls as well, other boards, other spray walls, whatever they are. I think the error I've been making is that I still see it all only as training. Even if I get excited to send my training project, I still view it as training. So I'm not making the really specific efforts, like hold these positions several times during a session, or figure out how to one arm hang this hold because I know my left hand's going to cut off when I do this move. I'm not making those really specific efforts. I'm just saying I'll improve over the next season or two and I'll eventually do this. So I like this new way of thinking about gym projects.
Yeah, and it's some of it is tricking yourself, and there's definitely some buy-in, right? I think there's some it's not a learning curve, but I think it really is just you have to kind of I had to buy into it. And for me that was the process of the recovery. Was during that recovery of my foot, I really bought into, hey, this is cool. I'm really obsessive when it comes to completing things and checking boxes and lists and all that stuff. And I'm really into it. I like logging. I like leaving comments, all that stuff. So I just, by the time that I had decided to make like a video catalog of everything, I was totally bought into everything about it. And in the fact that it was getting my fingers stronger and helping my recovery. And then, like you said, just enjoying the project as a gym project.
Yeah.
And it definitely helped me. That mindset has helped me because there are times when, man, I just think I'm never going to do this thing. It's just so hard. It's so insane.
Which makes the black and white nature of it even more frustrating and hard to grapple with.
Yeah, because it really comes down to like, okay, now what are the other things? If I can't knee bar or heel hook or heel toe cam or something, like now I have to really start doing the hard decisions of, now I have to change my diet, or now I have to change how fast I'm climbing, and just be a little bit harder on myself and more disciplined with, hey, how much how much sleep am I getting? How much sugar am I having? And it starts to affect all these other things because I can't focus on maybe finding a new hold or a new beta.
Right. This is going to be a really tough question to answer.
Yeah, what's up?
But how often is the answer, I need to get stronger? And how often is the answer, I need to figure out a way to be better?
I'd say it's different from benchmark to benchmark.
Yeah, or just when you're working on a move on the Moonboard that's hard for you.
Yeah, I think I've always thought like my brain, and I'm sure a lot of other people's brains are their biggest enemy in stuff, right? Like me walking up and looking at Black Beauty, and the first time I saw it, or the first time I saw Go Big or Go Home, and being, I'll never do that. That's not a great place to start, right? That's not a positive mindset to start in.
Sure.
And that's already, I'm overcoming that. So I'd say more often than not, I need to get better mentally, allowing myself to believe that I can do this move. And then I think once you have decided that you're going to do the move, you can do it, you're able, and I can reach it and all that stuff, then I think the physical part has, in my experience, taken care of itself, because I'm allowing myself to know that I can do it. And then now that I know that, okay, cool. Now I'm just going to get it done. I'm going to do what it takes to get it done.
Yeah. Cool. Good answer. Before we wrap this up, I know I'll get questions about this. So I kind of want to ask this last question just so I don't get a bunch of emails or comments like, well, we don't know anything about this guy. You know that his name is Ravioli. That's all you need to know.
That's it.
But you work a stressful job where you work a lot. Do you think if you didn't have that, moonboarding still would have ended up being a thing? Because it sort of fits into your lifestyle pretty well.
Yeah, it does. I work a lot. On a good week, it's 40 hours. On a more normal week, it's 50 to 60. And I think that moonboarding, and like for a lot of people, climbing is just, it's that calming, great workout, great release, and really like centers me mentally. It's tough to say if I would have come to moonboarding if I didn't work like the job I work, but I don't know. I think moonboarding in like that whole system and the benchmark system really appeals to me. All that stuff appeals to me. So I'm sure I would get into it. But
what if 8a.new was a better website? Would moonboarding ever have happened then?
It's tough to say, man. I haven't logged anything on 8A in forever. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I can say that I'm thankful for it, because it is just really built a cool, supportive community. I do a lot of climbing alone. I do a lot of sessioning alone. I do a lot of hard climbing. I did Black Beauty by myself, and I'm glad I have the video, but I remember texting my wife just being like, I did it, and it's just me there, and a lot of times I do feel like I'm climbing in a void, and I don't know how hard things are. I don't know how hard I'm trying and things like that. So I'm very thankful for everyone out there that's psyched and motivating, and that's been a huge part. And I don't really know. I think I probably would have gotten into it even if I didn't do what I do. But
well, I know there are lots of people out there who are glad you got into it, whether you would have or not. I know they're glad of it, and because there's this the whatever negative I've said about the Moonboard in the past, there is this cool community that's been built around it, and the ability to keep people motivated and psyched and give people that release from their stressful lives if they need it, from across the world through the use of Instagram videos of you climbing on a little yellow wall, I think is amazing. And I know there are lots of people who are psyched that you did what you did because they're super motivated by it. And I'm not a moonboarder, and I'm really motivated by it. And all the respect, because I love seeing somebody dedicate themselves the way that you did. For me today, like I said, even though I'm not a moonboarder, I'm not a basketball player either, but I would love to get on a court with Jordan. That would be amazing. And that's what it was like today, watching you and Segrist moonboard. Maybe I said on the Instagram it was like Jordan and Pippen. Maybe that's too strong because Segrist isn't a Pippen level moonboarder yet, but somebody lower level on the team.
Oh man.
But watching Segrist outside, on sport climbs is the same sort of deal for me.
He's a beast. He's so motivating.
And that's one of the coolest things about this sport, this lifestyle, this industry, whatever it is that you call it. That's one of the coolest things about it, is that you get to meet people, you get to sit in the same room with people, you get to climb on the same board or on the same crag as the Michael Jordans of this sport, So I'm glad you found it.
Yeah, thank you. And it's a huge compliment. I appreciate you taking the time to come and talk, and keep doing it, keep moonboarding.
Awesome, man. Are you going to do the whole 2017 benchmark set eventually?
Man, that's like the number one question I get, and I don't have a gym here in town that has that set.
Yeah.
And
if anybody wants to donate a moonboard,
yeah, Ben, if you're listening, hook it up. Let's do it. Let's see what's up. I'd be totally open to it though. I'll maybe start a new page just for those benchmarks, and yeah, I'd love to dig into it.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to that one.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Of course.
First off, thank you for your hospitality and for being so damned accommodating, and for the session. It was really, really fun for me to watch the way that those two bounced off of each other and really learned from each other. And that's what great climbers do. They learn at any opportunity they get. So that was really, really fun for me, and I appreciate it. It was also really fascinating to hear somebody talk about this thing that I've felt recently. I come from a place where you train indoors to climb outdoors, and that's how my training has always been, and where my mind has always been. And recently, having a gym where the projects will never change, very similar to a moonboard, I've grown attached to some projects, and I can see them as more long-term, and I can measure my growth with them, and that's a really, really exciting place to be. But it doesn't fit the stereotype, it doesn't fit the mold, and it's something you can very easily struggle with. And just knowing that your identity as a climber isn't being challenged because you're choosing to climb inside is a pretty important thing. And I know that he's in Colorado right now trying his big project there, and I still have my projects outside, and so do most of the other people who are fanatics when it comes to climbing indoors, and that's totally okay. Do what you want to do. Like I said before, if you want to become a patron, you can do that at patreon.com/PowerCompanyPodcast, or click the link right there in your pocket supercomputer. Also, check out the photo of that t-shirt while you're there. It's amazing. And if you're one of those moonboard people, you're going to want it for sure. And thank you, Lee Kugis, for making that available to everybody. I had to talk him into it. He just wanted to keep it for himself. Not true, actually. Lee would have given them to everyone for free if I'd have let him do that. You can and should be following Ravioli Biceps on Instagram. Very easy to find. There aren't many Ravioli Biceps on there. Plus, there's a link right there in the show notes. You can follow us on the Instagram and on the Facebooks. If you're interested in a training plan or one of the other many things that we have in our shop, come and check us out at powercompanyclimbing.com. And you can look for us on the Twitter. There's plenty of moonboarders on the Twitter, I'm sure, but we aren't moonboarders, and you're not going to find us there because we don't tweet. We scream like eagles.
It's time to